You are now listening to the Project Life podcast, where we take project management concepts and apply them to your everyday life. Broadcasting from the Lone Star State in Austin, Texas, help me welcome your host, Mr. George Lopez.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to the Project Life podcast, guys. And we are coming up. We got a couple weeks left for the new year, right? We are in Christmas week, countdown to Christmas. So I hope, I can't believe how quickly, but yet how long the year has been. I just can't believe that we're talking about being in December and getting ready to enter 2021. So again, hopefully at least this time of year you can and your family enjoy the Christmas holiday. And hopefully over the last 14 or so weeks that you've been coming along, taking some tidbits of information from me and my guests, and hopefully been planning to move forward in 2021 with either a new vision, with some new goals, a way to attack those goals in 2021, because I definitely want 2021 to be the year that you go ahead and crush every damn thing that you want to do. Okay. I'm here to help push that along and to at least help you think outside the box. And that's what this Project Life podcast has been all about, and kind of was the concept that if you at least took away one thing, or you grabbed a nugget from somebody to apply to your life, to apply to your goal setting, to help projectize what you want to do with your life, then the show's 100% a success. And if you're just now tuning in to the Project Life podcast, welcome. Take some time, take a look at the last few weeks that we've had, and go all the way back to the beginning. And we talk about trying to projectize goals, trying to projectize this thing we call life, and breaking it down, planning and setting yourself up for success. So, last week we had our Wall Street analyst coming in and talking to us and telling us about his journey, making his way from India to the US, and starting his own business, working on Wall Street, and just kind of growing from there. And so if you didn't take a peek at last week's episode, it was an incredible story to hear, because we run into issues all the time and we run into roadblocks, but this young man had problems with advisors within his own country telling him that he wasn't going to be able to make it out to the US to continue his education. And he went out and didn't take that as an acceptable answer, and went outside the norm, reached out to different universities across the US, found out what needed to happen, took the test that he needed to take, took the exams, got the visa, got, all to sit back and hope that, he accepted, which ultimately he was. And, it got him here. It took him from India to Colorado. Now he's in New York and Wall Street. It was a pretty inspiring story, to say the least. So make sure you go check out last week's episode and this week to kind of expound on that. And as we count down to 2021, our guest this week is really going to talk about, getting into self-discovery, taking a look at yourself, being able to accept our flaws and things of that sort, because it's something that we really don't talk about. It's an aspect of project planning, or self goal setting, that we really don't talk about. And we've touched on it a little bit in regards to the mindset that you have in talking to yourself and self-talk, but she's really going to go into more so the fact that we have to discover who we are, understand that we will hit a point in our life that you know we succeed and we're doing great and we're pushing along, but we're still not satisfied and fulfilled. And that could be happening. That could be an issue that you're having. And as you get ready for your goals, this might be something that you want to consider to do, to self reflect and determine if these goals are actually what you want. If these are the goals that are really going to fit your life and push forward and make sure that you are the best version of yourself. So as we get ready to enter 2021, it was the perfect time to bring this guest in and to talk about her process and what she does. Now, she is a coach and she will talk a little bit about her program, but I just want her to touch base on the tips and the signs. We're talking inner circles as well. We're talking mindset, and we're just talking self-discovery and self-acceptance coming up on the show. And hopefully you can take some away as you again enter 2021 with a new set of goals, with a new mindset. 2020 has been a hell of a year, and these may be issues and conversations you have been having with yourself throughout 2021. And there may have been a lot of self reflection, or I'm sorry, in 2020. Um, and there may have been a lot of self reflection depending on what part of the world, what part of the US that you are coming from, where you had to stay home, confine yourself somewhere in your home. And I'm sure there's conversations that you have had with yourself of, what am I doing with my life? Maybe I need to look for something new into the new year. Maybe I need to find some goals. I need to find myself. And today's guest is going to be the perfect person to talk to you about just that. So let's go ahead and bring her in. All right, guys, this week's guest, we have Althea Burke. She is a self-discovery coach and self-acceptance expert. Again, we're bringing in a lot of different folks with a lot of different opinions. So I know that everyone's like, what is that? I'll let Althea get into it here, on exactly what that is and how it ties in to, achieving our goals, projectizing our lives, and moving forward. And she has a ton of great ideas, and we're going to get into, a few good topics here on today's show. Althea, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, George. I am doing exceptional. I love the basis of your podcast, achieving goals and projectizing them. As a self-discovery coach and self-acceptance expert, which I'll define in a moment, I think these two ideas really complement one another, and I see so many of my clients get stuck sometimes because they don't know how to move forward in the goals that they want to accomplish, which is going to open up the rest and the best of their lives. So, in a nutshell, self discovery is that process of acquiring insight into one's own character. And I believe that when we know ourselves, when we accept who we are, and not in a fluffy way, but even the characters that you want to hide, when you accept, all parts of yourself and you make sure that you are your own best friend, I believe that is when life really starts to happen and you can live life on your own terms, not being derailed by other people's opinions or situational or circumstantial things that can pop up.
Gotcha. Now, Althea, that's a great way to break it down. So what got you, so what's your story? What got you to this point? Was there anything, I guess, major along the way that took you down this path, to find this new realm, and to find this concept of self-discovery, and how it has impacted your life to be able to get you to this point where you are today?
Absolutely. So I think people would describe me as a free thinker, a free spirited. And I guess two of the qualities that have landed me where I'm at right now, which is owning my own business, being completely fulfilled in all areas of my life, is number one, my optimism. I always see the glass half full. And if I don't see it half full, I stop and I wonder, how can I see it half full? What is the lesson to be learned here? How can I move forward? And then the second thing that's really served as a catalyst to living in a space of true fulfillment in my life is asking the question, what's what's next, right? What's next? What's the answer? What am I not understanding? And those two, the questioning and the optimism, have really served me well. So let me just paint you a picture. So
Okay.
I left a very stable job several years ago. I had just bought a new vehicle. I got this amazing apartment in the woods, beautiful view. Life was pretty good, right? It's 9 to 5. I got my new dog. I just got engaged, right? So there was really nothing for me to do. And of course, I'm like, what's the lesson in all of this? I'm not feeling, any sense of adventure or excitement. I'm feeling like I'm kind of flatlining. So true to my nature, I quit that job. I move into I move into this role where I'm doing door-to-door sales. And honestly, when or if I ever have children, I'm going to make sure they do some type of door-to-door sales role. I think that was like the best thing for me ever. And it was a 100% commission-based role, right? So if I sit down, if I don't hustle, I'm not getting fed. I'm not going to eat. And, of course, it's like January, February in central or southern Ontario, Canada. So we've got a lot of snow out there. My nose is running. It's dark outside. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I have no money. And um, still, my optimism was like, this is the best thing for you. And in that environment, I was around other people who were really trying to figure out what their next steps were going to be and strengthening their business acumen. And they were just lovers of creating something out of nothing. And so someone handed me or recommended me this book by Peter F. Drucker. It's actually a Harvard Business Review, a really easy read. It's called Managing Oneself. And after, a really long night out in the field, which is basically knocking on doors,
Right.
um, I read this book, and it pretty much is the epitome of what your whole podcast is about and what your way of life is about. It's let's forget about trying to strengthen your low skill areas. For me, that is like math. Okay? I can do math for everyday life. Like I can budget my books at home. I got that. But like anything too complex, I'm like, yeah, just no. That's just not what I'm gonna be doing. And then instead, focus your energy and your time on strengthening your high skill areas. And for me, that was people development, that was um, organization, that look like there's just a whole list of other qualities that
Right.
I could strengthen and just leave the low skill areas alone. And from that moment, I started to see myself as not just like that cliche overall a work in progress, but literally I am a project in progress. So I started knocking off all of my high skill areas and just really honing um, those skill sets. And so that was the turning point for me, where I really wanted to figure out what I could do with all of my high skill areas to create a life that was based on the things I'm good at doing and the things that I love doing.
That's awesome. That's wow. Like that's and I'm assuming, over the last few years that's continued to grow. And I think one of the more important things that we've noticed, and something that I stress about on the show, is, you know, and I'll let you touch on the self-discovery part, but the mindset of going into something like that, of, being able to, one, quit your job and stay positive in order to, you have goals, you had, bills to pay to keep you right. As you've built this business and as you went through that process, what were some of the things that helped you keep that right mindset to know that, hey, I see the end goal, I'm hitting these bumps along the way, it's not been easy, but I got to get there?
What was the mindset
Yeah.
that the mindset, I mean, if I'm being honest, the when I was explaining earlier, the question, that one question that motivated me, I think I could sum up the many different questions that I shared in one right now, and that is why not? Right? So my mindset is why not? Why can't I be the best at this? Why can't my life look different than um, my mom's, my dad's? Why not? Why can't I have um, my dreams? Why can't I make my realities or my dreams a reality? And every time I asked myself that question, why not? The answer came back, you can, right?
Right.
And so when I landed on that answer of I can, I was like, all right, so what do I have to do to get it? And I mean, I was I would say a lot of my mindset has been shaped by seeing, which I think is just like you and a lot of other people. It's like you see people you either want to emulate or you see people that you want to be like nothing like.
Right.
And so having both of those visions um, in mind, I was like, I'm going after that because I can, and I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z because it doesn't look like it served um, any productive purpose in that person's life, in that example that I saw. So the mindset was really, why not, and let's do it. Does that answer your question? I feel like
No,
I'm like
it definitely
simple.
does.
Mhm.
It's one of those things to where, I think, and I'm sure you see it a lot with your clients is, we end up having, and I think it hit the nail on the head. We end up having a lot of doubt, as w- we push forward on something, and we almost end up self-sabotaging ourselves as we go through stuff. And, I think that's very key on asking yourself, why not? And have that conversation with yourself to see what the answer really is, right? On it seems simple, but it's a very hard question for some people to ask themselves. Why can't they have something? And almost to the point where I think some people may be scared of the answer, or themselves, they don't believe that they can move forward with that goal is. But I think too, I think as we shift into the self, I think those two kind of play hand in hand to say, hey, your answer to the why is, there's nothing stopping me. Then I think there is some self reflection and diving into oneself to kind of actually figure out who you are and what you're doing. Is that a safe assumption to see, or have you dealt with that with your clients in the past, to where if they do ask themselves why, and it's not nothing's holding me back, it's, a list of reasons on why they can't have that. How do you approach that next step?
Right. That's a really good question. So my clients generally are professional, ambitious women who do have the credentials and the expertise. So they're not scared of hard work,
Gotcha.
right? They'll put in the work. Um, but what I find is that for some people, it's easier to pursue goals that have been given to them. So, daughter or son, you're going to be a lawyer you're going to be in higher education, you're going to serve in the army because this is what we all did.
Right.
So expectation. So you just meet that expectation. And that doesn't require an internal, like an introspective look. What do I really want? Who am I really? What really lights me up? What gives me energy? What drains my energy? It's kind of easy to meet expectations. Similar to when you have a project at work, right? It's like your boss says, do this. It's very rare that, you know, an incumbent will turn around and be like, well, actually, no thanks. I'm not going to do that today, right? It just doesn't happen. You just do it. And you can just turn your mind off and just get into it. But yeah, what I find with clients is that when it comes to pursuing goals that are a reflection of their inner desires and true wishes, a couple things come to mind right now. It's self-discipline, so doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do for yourself. You kind of have that pro con or cost reward analysis constantly going on. Like, do I really want this if I have to work so hard to
Right.
do it? And then the second piece to that, so aside from self-discipline, would be it truly is fear inducing to go from wishing or wanting to actually having, right? Because our minds, and you've probably heard, you know, people talk about this a lot, how the ego, you know, which is the brainstem, which is like all about survival and just basic functioning to keep our body alive. It has rituals to follow. It has systems to follow. And even if those rituals or systems aren't productive or don't make you happy, it doesn't want to change. It just doesn't want to change because it's not sure of the unknown, and it's not sure if the unknown is going to cause the master death. So it really has a preserving and adaptive function to it. But what shows up in our everyday life is this kind of push and pull, tug of war type of situation where you're like, you know, clients will come and be like, I really want to do this, but I don't know why I can't. And I'm just so upset that I can't. It's like, hun, it's totally fine. It makes sense. You know, after 30 some years of doing it this way, for you to all of a sudden just change and do it another way and you're not even sure what the outcome is going to be, you're right on track to be scared, right? So now we have to kind of figure out how to get all parts of the brain online and aligned with this new way of living that you want to have.
No, that is so deep when you really think about it, you know, as you start to process that, because it is, you know, as you start to think about it and asking those questions. I think why is such an important question just in everyday life, and you know, you'd be surprised by your answer, and being okay, you know, accepting the fact that you know you don't know the outcome, especially if you're that type of person to where you gotta know what the outcome is going to be. And yes, it's going to end up being scary to, you know, almost kind of switch or you know, throw yourself out there to something new. um and it's crazy to see the response on how people will really just kind of break down and shut themselves down just because of that fear, of not knowing, or the unknown, or them stopping themselves, you know, within trying to accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish just because of the unknown. And
Mhm.
we before the show we were kind of talking about that. Even on my own journey on this podcast, it was, I created the plan, I had everything how I wanted to set up everything and all the equipment I needed to buy and things of that sort. But when it came to pushing the go button, there was an issue of pushing go because I didn't know what to expect. I'm used to kind of not necessarily predicting, but analyzing, it's going to either go this way or that way, but just going into a completely different realm that, hey, you got to find guests. You have to, you're going to go out onto the internet, you're going to get streamed across the world. What's that going to be? What do you say when the mic turns on? And it stopped me from starting this process so much longer ago. But something just got me over the hump, that why not. I got to a point where it's just like, why not? Let's go. There's nothing stopping me. Thing in place, we got all the stuff, let's just hit record and go and see where this goes. And it started to take off. Now, one thing, doing my research and just kind of looking at the stuff that you had sent into the show and talking about inner circles, what was another big topic that I thought was very interesting, because it's something that we've talked about as well. And it kind of plays in my mind anyways. I see that it plays into that self-discovery, into that mindset. How important is one's inner circle when it comes to actually achieving their goals and moving forward path?
Uh, Critical. It's vital to achieving goals. I mean, there are tons of research studies that have been published that suggest that social contacts can influence everything from sports to dieting to food choices. And then they kind of also break it down even further, that it's not just your inner circle, but there are same gender versus opposite gender differentials, as well as the length of time that you have known these people, and if they are like you, maybe in terms of like body composition, that also plays a role. So yeah, it's absolutely vital that your inner circle be made up of same gender people who look like you,
Right.
and hopefully ideally people who you've known for a long time. But even on that last point about people that you've known for a long time, I know that people, there are individuals who are on journeys of remaking themselves, and it's necessary to shed or just create a bit of safe distance from people that they've known for a long time in order to move forward to their next you know evolution. So that last point is not absolutely um, in stone.
Right. And I guess what would you say, I guess, are some tips or maybe some evaluation points as someone was to look around themselves or around their surroundings to say, hey, maybe there needs to be a change here, or things are actually vibing very, very well of what I have around me. What would you say would be some criteria to kind of evaluate someone's surroundings?
Surroundings meaning their friendships, like the
Yes.
people that, yeah, their inner circle. So I think in terms of achieving your goals, um, your energy and your time are like the most precious commodities that you have. So I would suggest kind of doing a quick um, assessment or evaluation of the return. I know it sounds a bit, you know, business like to be
Right.
applying to relationships, but you know, it is what it is, right? So when you're taking a look and you're doing an inventory of your inner circle, what's the return on your investment? Like when you go and hang out with a certain person and you had in mind, you know what, I really want to have like a heart to heart. I have some things on my chest that I want to get off. This person might be a good person to go and talk to. And when you leave that interaction, just immediately take an inventory of how you're feeling. Do you feel drained or energized? Did you feel valued, heard, understood by that person? And everyone has their one-off day. So maybe that first time you did the evaluation, they weren't able to be available because there was something super important in their life that they had to share with you, or they were just in a really cruddy mood, so they were coming off a bit more judgmental than they usually are. So maybe give it a time or two. But if you're consistently coming back with like, gut level feeling that, man, this person is draining me, they don't even hear me, they're always judging me, they're giving me advice contrary to what I really want to be doing, that's when I would suggest creating possibly some healthy distance between you and that person. Your inner circle has to be like your biggest champions. They really have to be your biggest champions. Like I feel so fortunate to have a husband who is like my cheerleader.
Right.
He's like, you want to do this? That sounds crazy, but I see the smile on your face. I know you're going to be prepared. I know you're not going to put our family in jeopardy. Go for it. Right? I can't imagine having, an inner circle of people who are always like, why do you want to do that? That sounds ridiculous. That's awful. It's like, okay, dream killer. Like that's those kind of relationships will make you feel like you're batty and you're crazy.
Right.
The world can do that.
And I did an episode of the show talking about it, and I'm guilty of it as well, making it sound very business, because I in the show it was about quote unquote resources, and really the folks around you in that inner circle. And I took a very similar approach. I think the only difference that I saw, at least talking to people, was, don't always necessarily, and I think this kind of into the self-discovery portion of of things as well, is finding a bunch of yes people is not always the best answer either. And, finding people that are so like-minded like you could be just as, detrimental as being
Absolutely.
beneficial. I talked about on the show, at least having, it's always good to at least have that one friend that's going to keep it 100% with you, and will at least kind of ground you, as, or at least trying to point out like, hey, time management may be not your best thing. It may be something that you want to look at. But always at least having at least that one that will try to be as 100% with you as they can be, and with your best intentions, in their criticism and things of that sort. Would you say that I'm off there, or can we agree that could help, especially when it comes to pushing forward on some goals, and moving forward in life?
We can agree. We can agree on that. Yeah, I don't think yes people are going to serve your greater good. And as you were saying that, George, it reminds me of the little pockets of friendships
Oh
that
yeah.
we have, right? So I have, and I'm sure you do, you've got, friendships that, you've got maybe your army friends, maybe you have your entrepreneur friends, maybe you have friends that align with like your spiritual focus in life. And, you know, same with me. I've got my homemaker friends, I've got my entrepreneur friends, I've got, my Christian friends, and I don't go to my homemaker friends for business advice,
Right.
right? Because they're like, oh, you don't have to do this. Why do you want to do it, right? And then my business friends, and my homemaker friends, they think all my posters are beautiful. That's
Right.
their feeling is always, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful and creative. I bring that same poster to my entrepreneur friends, and they're like, who is your target audience?
Right.
What is your messaging? That doesn't even make sense. It's too much, copy to image ratio, and it's like, oh, right. So yeah, you definitely want to have that that breadth of friendships and relationships.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Now let's dive in a little bit on this self-discovery and the methods in which you use. And I don't want you to give away all your secrets, because again, I do want my audience to visit your website and and reach out to you. But as we talk self-discovery and goals, I guess what are some of the most common things that you see with your clients that really calls for the need to dive deep into themselves and to go through the process of finding themselves?
Hmm. I think they will come to a point in their life where they're looking around and they've thrown up really big wins in terms of their career, their family, kids are happy, they've got a good place, they're not, hard on money, they got decent jobs, they're doing other extracurriculars that um, they've wanted to do, but still deep inside there's like this deep dissatisfaction, and they're like, why? Everyone else looking at me thinks, I've got this really great life, and oh my gosh, you get to do this, you get to do that, but still deep inside, they'll be, lying in bed at night thinking something's got to change, but they don't know what it is. And so, with my proprietary process, which is called the Same Thing Method, SAME is an acronym for speak, attend, mesmeric movement, and effect. They're able to not only understand their true character, but they're also able to um, give themselves that emotional nurturance. Because a lot of the times when you aren't able to recognize your blessings or um, feel fulfilled in life, there is a historic root to those problems that are manifesting nowadays. So we use those the method and the steps of the method to speak um, life over them, to help them to see themselves how the creator sees them. Um, and I know even people who aren't believers, um, we all have that conscience. I think that's, God's microphone, because we all have one, right? It's like we all have that little voice inside that's like, you're amazing. You're like, no, I'm not amazing. And so we want to tap into that more often. We want to tap into that little voice more often. Um, and also learning to increase and or develop in some situations positive self-talk. That's like the number one tool for self-soothing and for emotional nurturance. Like, what are you saying about yourself? um, I'm on the path to no longer making fun of myself or calling myself names. And someone taught me that, and that's what I aim to teach my clients. Like, if you can't um, make some excuses for yourself, or not even make excuses, but like have your own back, how do you expect other people um, to hold space for you and to give you a pass in everyday life?
Wow. No, that's again, it's I loved, and when I read everything, just looking you up and taking a look at your website and watching your videos and things of that sort. That was one thing, that really drew me to you, because it's a lot more powerful than people will think. We're at that time of year where people are looking to either reinvent themselves. They're looking to set new goals, and change their way of life. And 2020, I'm sure, has helped people sit back and even have those questions like, crap. I do have a job. I'm fortunate to have a job, but this just this isn't it. What have you seen, I guess, in 2020? Have you seen that pick up more and more, that the fact that everything going on, across the world with this global pandemic, that more and more people are now looking to kind of look inside themselves to figure out who they really are as they enter 2021, to maybe move into a different career field or find that new passion?
Yeah, I've noticed that quite a bit. And I don't even know if it was like 2020 brought it out, like magnified it, those kind of
Right.
conversations even more because we've had so much time to ourselves.
Right.
Um, but also, like, I would say that this, like, the younger, like 20 something millennials, I think I would say, like, they really brought these conversations of, like, living lives that really support who they are and bolster their own true fulfillment in life, to the forefront. Like, I'm on the upper end of the the millennial, spectrum there. But I'm like amazed at some of these 20 something year olds who are like, I'm not doing that job because that does not support who I am. I was like, I would never say
Right.
that. Like, what? But it's so like, yes, like that's what we need to be doing more often. Or if someone like says something to you that you don't agree with about yourself, let's have the audacity to be like, whoa, I know you didn't mean to, offend me, but you kind of offended me when you called me X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Why would you say that? And stop like, absorbing all of these labels and things that don't fit you because eventually you're going to be living up to them, either consciously or subconsciously. Like you start to wear these identities. So I think that's really, I went on a tangent there. Did I answer your question?
No, it definitely did. You can.
Let me stop myself. Okay.
No, and you're right. I think it's a shift that's been coming for a while, but 2020 probably did magnify it, because now, and especially for folks, you know, that are not millennials. These were probably taboo conversations, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, to have with oneself. I think you hit the nail on the head on, no, at no point would I ever say no or stop and say, I'm really going to look to enter a career field that, is 100% me, and not, what mom and dad told me I needed to do, or the family business, or whatever the case may be. So as we enter 2021, what would your advice be, I guess, to all my listeners, because they do range in age, if they are kind of at that point to where, hey, maybe I do need to start to look in towards myself and look for, some self-reflection and self-discovery, what would you say can kind of jumpstart them in 2021 to go down that path?
Wow, George. Oh, that was a big question. What can jumpstart them to go down that path of self-discovery?
Other than reaching out to you and starting.
Right. Um, I would say that y- so it doesn't like your whole life doesn't have to be up in smoke, right? Or in shambles for you to be like, what little tweaks can I make? Um, it could be one area of life. It could be your romantic life. It could be your money. It could be your career. It could be your connection to that which is greater. It could be your physical health. What one area? And so when you're looking at the one area in your life, that, could use a bit more nourishment and attention. And typically we know what it is, right? It's that thing that you're like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. So what is that one area in your life that you can nourish a bit more by focusing on one small thing? And I would actually borrow from you and say, let's projectize that. Our bodies are a free experimentation and research ground. Maybe it looks like doing a 4-day food energy experiment, testing out different dietary protocols, seeing what foods, is it meat or is it animal protein that gives you energy? And maybe track that on the 2-hour mark and 4-hour mark. Maybe it's looking at your sleep hygiene, right? Because everyone's like, oh, I can't get up so early. And really, if I got up early, I could get that workout in. Okay, so let's look at what you're doing the night before, right? Maybe it's turning the phone off an hour before bed. Maybe it's, taking a shower before bed because that relaxes you. So what is just really my message is look at one area of your life and do one small thing to make a little adjustment, and measure it. Track that one small adjustment and see what the results are, right? Because ultimately, the process of self-discovery is supposed to land you in a place where you know yourself better than anyone else knows you. And you're supposed to be doing things in your life that bring you true fulfillment. And the measure of true fulfillment is to be energized, to live a life that is full of zest and energy. So you've hit the mark when you are just feeling so full in whatever area it is that you're focusing on in that moment. I hope that resonates with your audience.
No, and I think it will. And now let's get into, like I said, everybody, Athena is also someone that you can go and reach out to as well. So tell us a little bit about what your coaching program really entails, or just a little bit more about the company and kind of the process.
So I'm a startup solopreneur, and my vision, what gets me up in the morning, is that I don't want any woman or woman to be confused about what she's bringing to the table and who she is. So I have a 12-week program. It's called the Mentored Partner Experience, where we're partnering up, we're working together. And I'm going to be like that really good friend in your inner circle. I'm going to mirror, good and negative qualities back to you so you can see it for yourself. And we're really going to reinforce your strengths. We're going to do deep dives to discover the historical roots of current issues. And everything is customized. So there's something for everybody. And I feel like my clients know what they need. So if you just need one session, one 90-minute session, we can do that. If you need me around the clock 24/7, we can do that as well. But what I'd like to give to your audience, George, is my Know Thyself Power Pack. It has prompts that include my top 30 questions that I ask my one-on-one clients. And in the coaching world, they say like a coach is only as good as the questions that they ask. And these questions have really proven to stump people. They'd never thought about some of these questions before. And when you kind of figure out the answer to these questions, you're like, I didn't know that. Cool, right? And then you're one step closer to that self-discovery and self-acceptance and true fulfillment stage.
No,
And yeah, so I'll send you that link for that.
awesome, and we will definitely have it on our website. You will find it directly here with the show. So, Athena, where can people find you?
They can find me on. I want to direct people to my "Women Really Do Run the World." I'm not ashamed about that name. Meetups.com group. We're going to be doing monthly events there. And there is an option for group coaching experience. So everything is virtual, just to respect where we're at right now with our pandemic and people's comfortability or uncomfortability with being around other folks. So meetups.com, women really do run the world.
Awesome, awesome, and I do have your website below, and for those that can't see, it will be linked to the show, and you can find her there as well. Do you have any kind of social media that people can find you?
I do, and it's and I say that because it's like I have this love-hate relationship with social media. I'm like, I don't know if I want to completely come right off of it or go all in. But I am at Datafind on Facebook, and that's the same um, handle for my YouTube channel.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Athena, I definitely appreciate the time that you've given us. And, again, just touching to a new audience on just a different aspect. Really, the biggest point of the show is to try to show people, hey, your goals, they can be attained, and there's a million ways to do it. Sit back, listen to something, take maybe one nugget. And my goal was person can take one piece of advice or a nugget from me or one of my guests to help improve their lives or to help them achieve their goal, then the show is won, and it's all over. So if we can just do that, and really talking about, at some point we may need to have that conversation with ourselves of rediscovering ourselves, because it does happen over the course of our lives. I've dealt with it, you've dealt with it, and I'm sure my listeners may have hit that point, or some of these thoughts and questions have come up. So I definitely appreciate the time, and I definitely appreciate the advice for that you've given us and my listeners. And I hope you have a great rest of the end of your year, and I hope you kick off 2021 with a blast, and I give you all my blessings on you and your business, and let's make this a global thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, George. You are a sensational human being. Thank you.
Bye bye.